Welcome, everybody.
People are still sleeping.
Time for training, guys. Wake up.
Wakey, wakey, wakey.
How's everybody doing in the chat today? Tell me what you got going on today. What you're looking forward to this weekend? You got anything going on? Put it in the chat. Any open houses, any showings, any family fun, work, family, social life, maybe a hot date. I'm just gonna give a few minutes for everybody to jump on, as we did start a little late. Nice family gathering on Sunday. Sounds fun. Hope you enjoy. Anybody else got anything going on this weekend? Put it in the chat. Being a little nosy today, why not? Training. Yes, love to hear that. Always should be learning. Always, always, right? Learning is continuous. Right? Gonna give it maybe about 1 more minute, and then we can get started. Okay. So I don't know if any of you guys have dealt with the as-is residential purchase contract yet in your real estate careers. But if there's anything you specifically want me to go over, just put it in the chat and we'll talk about it. That is, of course, if it pertains to the as-is contract. All right, so I think I've given enough time for people to jump on. Hopefully we'll get some more people while we begin. Everybody should have access to these trainings through the Lifestyle One app. And if you check under the events calendar, you will see all of the trainings, meetings, and events that Lifestyle does at each branch. You should be a part of your individual branch by requesting access to that specific branch through the app, and then the branch manager should approve you. That way you can kind of be included on what's going on with your branch, okay? It's pretty simple, but if you have any questions or you need help, reach out directly to your branch managers, okay? So my name is Jennifer. I am the branch manager for the downtown Orlando office here in Central Florida, okay? So we are one of the newer offices in the company. We just opened back in May. So today we're gonna go over the residential as-is purchase contract. Okay, that is an attorney-approved form that we use in order to buy and sell real estate. So that's typically gonna be the main contract that probably, I would say 99% of real estate deals are gonna be using. Okay, there are a few different types of contracts, but obviously we always use the attorney-approved ones, which is going to be the ones that say FAR bar, FAR/BAR, which just means that it is an attorney-approved form. All right, so this is basically the main form. So let me just go ahead and pull up Transaction Desk. And then you should have access to Transaction Desk. This is basically the main back office system that Lifestyle provides to every agent. If you just joined, you will need to email Carolina with a K, and she will get you your login details for that account. It's free, and everybody should have that set up. No excuses. All you got to do is email her, get your login details, and set it up. This is where you're going to find all of your contracts, where you can send everything for electronic signatures, and also where you can submit all of your documents for closing. It's all done through the same system, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Transaction Desk and just do a screen share. So give me 1 second. Okay. All right, can everyone see that? Should be able to see Transaction Desk. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can see it. Just want to make sure everybody sees my screen. It should say Agent Dashboard on the top. And I am on Transaction Desk. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm not going to start a new transaction because I already have one for trainings. But if you were starting a brand new transaction, as if you were the one filling out a contract for a client, then you would go ahead and click Create Transaction over here on the left-hand side. But as for me, I already have one open for the trainings, and I don't want to keep opening brand new ones. So I'm going to use one I already have. But you know, if you were doing this on your own, this is how you would create a new one. Okay. So now this is going to be your main transaction dashboard. This is not the overall dashboard. This is the individual transaction dashboard. So I'm going to come over here. Let me move that for a second. Okay. So on the right-hand side, you're going to have a little drop-down menu here, and you're going to click on Forms. Now, if you click on Forms, this is where you're going to be able to upload any type of documentation that you are going to need for this specific transaction. Now, you can either add them from the system directly, or you can upload documents as well. Of course, you're just going to want to use the ones that are already in the system to make it easier on yourself, rather than having to download and upload and do all that stuff. Okay. So you're going to click here, the plus button, and you are going to add. And then we're going to come down and we're going to come to far bar, residential contract and addenda. I'm going to click on that. One of the first options at the very top is going to be the as is residential contract for sale and purchase, which is the contract that we are going to be reviewing today. So if you click on it, you'll see the little check mark here, which means you selected that specific form, and you're going to click add in the top right corner. This is going to add the document to your transaction. So now you have it here added in. Keep in mind, this is a blank form. Okay. So if you open it up by clicking on it, you'll see here it pulls up the contract. All right. So this is a blank residential contract for sale and purchase. So this is going to be mainly used if you are the buyer's agent, which means you are representing the home buyer, the person you're going on the showings with. They want to submit an offer on a home that they found that they really liked. So this is the main contract that you will need to find in order to submit that offer for your buyer. When they actually find that house that they say, okay, yeah, I want to put an offer in on this. Let's get it started. You guys do some comps, which means you're going to look up the comps in the area around the neighborhood of the home that they liked. So I always recommend you can use RPR, which is a pretty good free tool through the MLS that they do offer us as a member. This is basically a program that you can just enter the address and it'll pull up all the comps around the area of that same home. So it's going to show you the recent sales within the last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12, whatever you set it to. Typically, I go back as far as a year. And then I look up the comps from the last year, which is going to be the closest ones. I always go with the closest ones first, because the appraisers, they do the same thing. They look for the comps that are in the same neighborhood. So it's going to be the ones on the same street, the ones that are, on the next street over, the ones that are on the other side of the neighborhood. Typically, you want to try to stay within the neighborhood because that's what appraisers do. So yeah, So this is going to be the blank contract. You reviewed the comps with your client. You guys came up with a good number compared to the comps and the list price, and you decided to put an offer. Okay, so this is the contract that you would use for that offer. So I'm just going to pull up the MLS here, so we can just use an example of a property that you're going to be submitting an offer on. I just kind of want you guys to put on your buyer's agent hat and pretend as if you are working with me, and we are submitting an offer for somebody who wants to buy a house. So if you come back here to the matrix, give me 1 second. Hold on. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Can everybody see my MLS here? Is everybody seeing everything I'm doing? Just want to make sure. Thank you so much for confirming. Okay, so this is the MLS. Okay, sorry, I was updating some auto searches. Let me get out of that. All right. Okay, so this is going to be the main dashboard on the MLS. Keep in mind, I have Stellar. This is the one we use in Central Florida. Not sure how the others look, but this is obviously, Stellar MLS for Central Florida. Okay. So if you come here, let's say, for example, they found a nice house. Here, let's look up something real quick. Just as an example of what we can put an offer on, I want to pick an actual property that's maybe around the area that I'm in right now. Let's do single family in the zip code I'm in. Let's do 400 to 500. See what pops up. All right. So we can use, oh wow, 1915, that's old. All right, so we can use this one. We'll use this one as an example, 1036 North Fern Creek Avenue in Orlando. So this is going to be around the area that I'm in right now. So we'll use this one, for example. We showed this earlier. The client contacted us, said, we love this house. We want to submit an offer on it. So we're getting to work for them, basically, okay? So it was great. It's all dandy. We called the agent, the list agent. We asked, we asked, hey, do you guys have any offers? How can we make this offer more desirable to the seller? Now, this is a question I like to ask just to kind of pick the brain of the list agent, because nobody knows what the owner wants better than the actual listing agent. So it is very crucial to make sure you contact the listing agents and you pick their brain a little bit. You don't want to come in too aggressively. You want to be polite. You want to be professional, just so they would want to work with you. It's always very good idea to make a good impression on the listing agent. That way they're going to want to work with you and try to convince the owner to go with your offer. So definitely keep it professional. Contact the listing agent, whether through text or a phone call. I typically just call. And I always ask, how can we make our offer more appealing to the seller? So it could be many different scenarios, right? Maybe they want the highest and best. Maybe they want a quick closing. Maybe there's a contingency. They need time because they're buying another property, so maybe they want a certain type of financing. So every situation is different. This is why it's crucial as a buyer's agent to call that listing agent and just kind of find out, how can we make this offer better for the owner? Point blank, period. That is how you're going to find out, how can we really make this offer as appealing as possible? And by finding out what the owner wants is going to typically be the best way to do that, okay? So for example, let's just say we're representing a client, a couple, let's use two different parties here. So let's just say we have Melissa Gaines and Patrick Gaines. Okay, I'm just using random names here. So we're representing this couple in their home purchase. They just got pre-approved through their mortgage lender, and we found this house. Okay. So they are going to be, oh, I'm sorry. Those are going to be the buyers. So it's going to be in the second line here. So we're going to put Patrick Gaines and Melissa Gaines. Okay. So buyers is going to be on the second line. You want to make sure you always use their full legal names, which means the names that they have, you know, on their official government issued IDs. So it's not going to be their nicknames, you know, it's not going to be some random name. You always got to make sure that you use their legal names. The only exception to this is if you're representing an investor who may have an LLC and have everything structured in that manner. In that case, you would use their actual name of their LLC, and you always want to verify through sunbiz.org that they are the managing member of that LLC. I've worked with a lot of LLCs in the past, so you always want to verify that that person you're dealing with is the managing member of that LLC, and that can easily be verified through sunbiz.org, sunbiz.org, okay? But let's just say for this example, it's just a regular couple. We're not dealing with an LLC here, okay? So we added their names under buyer, okay? And we're gonna come back here to the matrix, and we're going to find the seller name, okay? So sometimes you can find the owner name right here under realtor information on the MLS. There's a section here that says owner, and you can copy this here and plug it into the form over here, okay? There will be instances where the actual owner's name will not be there on the MLS. It'll be left blank because the listing agent didn't put it in there. In that case, you want to look up the property in the county property appraiser. That is going to be the most accurate information on the owner. So if you want to look that up according to whatever county the property is in, all you got to do is look up so-and-so county property appraiser. I'm in Orange County, so it would be Orange County property appraiser. Type in the address, and then everything will pop up. Who is the owner, owners, if there's more than one, and then it's going to show all of the sales history, taxes, and that information. So definitely always want to refer back to the county appraiser to help you find information that you need, okay? So now we're going to come down under property description. So this is going to be the main street address, okay? So come up here and we'll just go ahead and copy 1036 North Fern Creek Avenue and come back here and go ahead and paste that address there, okay? So it does kind of separate everything into little boxes. So sometimes you have to separate it, which can be a little annoying, but you know, it is what it is. So if you just want to separate everything like that, that way you can go ahead and delete this long here. Hold on, give me 1 second. 36 North Fern Creek. It's not letting me enter anymore. That's weird. So then just put the number here in the first box, and then just put the name of the street here. Obviously it's Orlando, Florida. And the zip is 32803, okay? So sometimes you do have to split it up between these boxes because it doesn't give you enough space to put the whole thing in one, okay? And then this is going to be in Orange County, okay? If you're not sure of the county, you can come up here and it's gonna say county, one of the first things under the address, okay? And then we're going to need to find the property tax ID number. So come back here, and if you look, you can find the tax ID number here. And I'm just going to copy that and come back here. So make sure you have that number correct. And then also the legal description. So all of this can be found in the MLS or the property appraiser, or even Realist. Realist is a public data website as well. So the legal description is here. We're going to copy and paste that legal description. Okay. All right. So now we're going to come to part D on the contract. We're still on the first page. Okay. So this is basically talking about what's included with the sale. All right. So it says personal property. Okay. And then it says here, the following items which are owned by seller and existing on the property are included in the purchase. So if you read the description, it already includes a range, oven, refrigerator, dishwasher, disposal, fans, fixtures, drapery rods, and so forth. So you don't want to be repetitive and add any of these things in there because it's already built into the contract onto what's included with the sale. Okay. But if you come back here to the listing, you'll see under interior information, it says what's included here. Convection oven, cooktop, dishwasher, disposal, dryer, electric water heater, freezer, ice maker, microwave range, refrigerator, washer. Okay. So most of these things have already been built into the contract. However, washer and dryer are not included in the contract. So because they are including it here, which we always want to verify through the listing, we can come back here and add washer and dryer as things that are included with the sale. Okay. I always just like to be safe and include these things and make sure that the listing and the contract kind of match in those ways. Okay. So I'm going to just add that in there. And then also the electric water heater. Oh, why did I do that? Electric water heater. Okay. So, and then it's going to go to following items are excluded. So say, for example, they wanted to take the washer and dryer and not leave it. Then you can put that here if you want. But typically they won't include it in the listing where it says appliances included if that were the case. Okay. So say, for example, now we decided on the numbers and we looked at comps in the neighborhood. You know, it's listed at 410. But we decided we're going to come in at 398 because we did the comps. And with this market, there is a little bit more room to negotiate now, just because listings are sitting a little bit longer and the market has slowed down a lot. It's more in favor of the buyers now. So there is more room to negotiate in this market. As you can see here, it says active days on market is 109 days. Current days on market, 109 days. All right, so as you can see, this property has been sitting on the market for almost 4 months, you know, so it's probably going to be a little bit negotiable is basically my point. Are they going to turn down an offer that's 10 grand less or 12 grand less in this market? Probably not. Probably not. If it was 40, 50 grand less, you know, they might just be like, no, we'll wait on something better, you know. So this is where you kind of got to use your logic and explain these things to the clients. You know, it's still got to be a fair offer, but there is more room for negotiation. You know, there's those instances as well where they may need assistance in closing costs because they don't have enough money for down payment and closing costs. So you can kind of gauge the situation that way. So if, for example, if they needed, you know, 3% in closing costs, then you're going to have to come up with a better offer. You know, that way the seller is more agreeable into giving that 3% to your client. So say, for example, this couple needed, you know, 3% in closing costs because they're a little bit short on the money down. Then, you know, you obviously don't want to come in too low because then they're going to be like, well, you want money off the list price and you want 3% in closing costs. That's going to be a lot off the top for the seller. And they might have a certain bottom line that they're trying to meet. So, you know, you have to kind of gauge the situation and what the client's needs and capabilities are at the same time. So if that were the case and they needed 3% in closing costs, I wouldn't come in below 400,000. I would probably come closer to their actual asking price, which is 410, you know, maybe come in a little bit closer, you know, at 407, 408, maybe even just full price, and then ask for the 3% in closing costs, you know, so that way the seller gets what they want and the buyers get what they need. So typically that's how that works. It's going to be a give and take and trying to find that middle ground between the buyer and seller. But for this example, they're not worried about money. They have the money for down payment and all that. So they just want to save a bit of money. So we're going to come in at $398 on this one. So we're just going to enter the list price or our offer price here. Okay, and then part A is going to mention initial deposit, AKA the escrow deposit. This is your buyer's skin in the game. This is showing that they're serious. They want to move forward with the sale, and they are basically agreeing to put down this deposit in the beginning to kind of lock down the property during the process. That way, you know, at the end of the transaction, that deposit will be subtracted from their total cash to close. And cash to close is going to be their down payment and their closing costs. So I always like to give them 3 days. Okay. So 3 days is 3 days on the contract. It's not 3 regular days. It's not going to be, 3 business days. It's going to be just 3 regular days. So if you're submitting this offer on a Saturday, you know, Sunday is still going to count during those 3 days. And can anyone make a wire or go drop off a check at a title company or an attorney's office on a Sunday? No. So if you're doing this on a weekend, just consider you might have to give a little extra time to your clients to make that happen. If they have to move stuff around or they need time to get the money, whatever it is, I just like to always put 3 days, sometimes maybe 4 if it's on the weekend. Okay. And if you leave it blank, it's going to automatically be 3. If you read here, it says if left blank, then 3 days. That's going to give your clients 3 days to make that deposit to the closing company. So it could be a title company or it could be an attorney, just depending on who the seller chooses for closing. Okay. So here I'm going to check the box because I'm going to give my clients 3 days to make that deposit. We're going to come back to the listing and see what they put for closing agent. So here they do not have a company or anyone here for the closing agent, as you see on the bottom. Typically though, you should be able to find this information at the bottom here. If not, then you can call or text the listing agent and ask, hey, we're working on an offer for you here. I was wondering if you guys could provide your closing agent information for the contract. And if they say, no, we haven't decided on someone yet, we're going to choose that in a little bit, whatever, then just leave it blank and you can go and fill that in later. If not, then they might be able to just give you the information right there and then you add it into the contract. So obviously it's left blank. So we're just going to keep that blank for now and then add that information in later when the actual sellers have it. So this is financing part. Okay, financing now, you know, the majority of your transactions are going to be with loans. You might have a cash deal here and there, but for the most part, you're probably going to be dealing with a lot of loans, especially if you're dealing with traditional buyers. So let's just say, for example, this couple, Patrick and Melissa, are pre-approved for 3% conventional. That's basically they have good credit. They have the money to put on down payment and closing costs. So they got approved for a pretty good loan with a conventional 3% down payment. So this is going to come down basically to doing the math. All right. So it's pretty simple, you know, easy math. We have a purchase price of $398 here, according to our offer. And we're going to multiply that by 0.03, which is 3%, which is their down payment. And that's going to equal $11,940, which means this amount is what their down payment is going to be on $398,000. Okay. So of that almost 12 grand, we are going to put down in deposits 5 grand. Okay. Now, typically for escrow deposit, in order to make it more appealing to the sellers, I always suggest for my clients to put down at least 2 to 3% of the purchase price. Okay. So if you do 398 multiplied by 3%, that's basically down payment right there. So 12 grand. And then 398 times 2%, That's gonna be 7,960, okay? So you always wanna make sure that your clients put down like a decent amount in escrow, just so that you can show the sellers that you're serious and that your buyers are serious about this purchase. Because if you come in with an offer at $400,000 and your clients only want to put down $1,000 in escrow, they're probably going to reject your offer and say, no, this is not good enough, and they're going to see that very low escrow and they're going to be turned off by it. Maybe they might counter and say, oh, you need to put down more in escrow. Like maybe they might come back and say $1,000 is not enough. We need you to up the escrow deposit. It happens all the time. Sellers want you to put down a decent escrow deposit, so just in case anything goes wrong, there's money, so you want to put down, or not you, but your clients are going to want to put down, I would say at least 1.5% to 2% minimum down in the escrow deposit. So for this one, I told him, you know what, let's put down at least $5,000 on this. Okay, at almost 400,000, you don't want to put a low 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. The sellers are going to be turned off by that. So we're going to do $5,000 for this one that they're going to put down in deposit. Okay, and so part C here, it talks about financing. So basically, this is going to be where the actual amount that the lender is going to be giving the buyer. So this is going to be the total amount minus the down payment. Okay. So if you take 398, excuse me, 398 or $398,000. And let me show you the math. Okay. Then I'm going to multiply that by 0.03, which is 3%, their down payment. That's going to give me 11,940. And then I'm going to subtract again and put $398,000 again. All right. And that equals, wait, sorry, I did that wrong. Let me start over. 398 times 3%, 11,940. Okay. And then I'm going to subtract 398. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not doing this right. Give me a second. Minus 11,940. Okay. So basically, this is 398,000 minus the 3% is going to be $386,000.60. So this is going to be the amount that the mortgage lender is going to be financing, because the rest is going to be put down by the buyer, which is the $11,940, which is their down payment. So this is the amount that needs to go in the part where it says financing, because this is going to be covered by the mortgage lender. Sorry if I confused you guys on that. So we're going to put 386,060 here. Okay. So as you can see, it just changed the number on the bottom that says balance to close. And that balance to close is basically the remainder of the deposit. So they're going to put down $5,000 in deposit. 386,000 is getting financed. And then the rest that they have to bring to the closing is $6,940, which is the remainder of their down payment. This is not going to include any type of closing costs at all. Okay, so you will be able to find out an estimate of closing cost through the title company and through the lender when the time comes around. If people ask you, typically I like to tell them it's anywhere from 2 to 3% of the purchase price. Okay, 3% is a little bit on the high end. Excuse me. 3% is a little bit on the high end. So, it's typically going to be around 2 to 2.5, but, if you always estimate a little bit higher, then, you won't have somebody coming at you like, oh, you told me it was going to be this much and now I got to pay more and blah, blah, blah. So typically you want to tell people, if they ask you that question, anywhere from 2 to 3%, But of course, this is an estimate, but this is just talking about down payment. So the remainder that they'll have to bring is 6,940. So did anybody have questions about that math? About, the financing, the purchase price, the escrow, the financing, the balance to close? Does anybody have questions about that? Did you? Okay, I'll move on. Nobody has questions. All right, so keep going. We finished the financing part. Time for acceptance now. The time for acceptance really is going to be when this offer expires. So you could give them a day, you could give them 2 days, 3 days. I don't like to give anybody more than 48 hours to review this offer. Maybe they might be busy and they can't do it the first day. So I just like to give an extra day to give them time to review our offer. So for example, today is Friday, December 9th. I'm going to put here the 11th, which is going to be Sunday. So I'm going to put 12, 11, 22. So basically, this is going to be in 2 days from now. So if we submit the offer today, they will have the rest of today. They will have tomorrow and the end of Sunday, technically, to either respond, accept, or reject this offer. So basically at midnight, if I just leave the date at midnight, this will expire. But if you want to do a certain time, you can also do a certain time. Like if you want to do 5 p.m. on the 11th, you can do that too. Say, for example, like you want to keep it moving, you want to keep searching, you don't want to just sit around waiting for answers, you can put a time as well. So if you want to say, oh, Sunday, our offer expires at 5 p.m., that means at 5 p.m., boom, you're done, your offer is expired, you're moving on. You know what I mean? But we're just going to leave it on for the 11th. Okay. Then part 4 is going to talk about the closing dates. So typically before you decide on just a random day for this, I would talk to your mortgage lender first before deciding on anything. You don't know what the underwriters are doing. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know how the market is going. So always talk to the mortgage lender before deciding on a closing date and say, hey, we're submitting this offer on this property. I just want to make sure you can close within a certain time frame. We're going to put the closing date for 30 or 35 days, unless you tell me otherwise. And then they say, oh, great. Well, we can actually close sooner than that, but put 30 days just to be safe. And you say, okay, cool. And then you put 30 days. Or maybe they'll say, oh, well, actually, we got to do this and we got to do that for the client, or they got to rearrange this, or they got to fix their taxes, or they got to talk to this person. We're probably going to need a little more time. Do 40 days. So this is why it's crucial to talk to the mortgage lender and keep them in the loop of what you're doing, especially when it comes to submitting offers, because it's just as important for the lender to know what's going on, because they're going to have to also abide by the same deadline. So keep in contact with them, because this deadline is not only for you, not only for the client, but also for the mortgage lender involved as well. So make sure you discuss that with them. We're going to just do traditional 30 days. So today is the 9th. So we're going to go into January. The 9th is a Monday. Let's do midweek and let's do the 11th. All right. So that's exactly 30 days from when our offer expires on Sunday. Okay. I'm going to keep going here. Now you're going to come to part 7 where it says assignability. So this basically talks about if somebody can pass off this contract to somebody else. So that's a common situation in like wholesaling. That's how they do wholesaling, which basically they allow people to assign contracts to somebody else and they play the middleman basically. But obviously those are different types of deals. A traditional deal, you always want to put may not assign this contract. This basically is saying that our client is responsible to fulfill these contractual obligations with the seller, and nobody else. So you want to click may not assign this contract. Now, part 8 is going to talk about financing. So part A is if you were dealing with a cash buyer, but we're not, we're dealing with a loan. So we're going to click B, which is this contract is contingent upon loan approval. So typically loan approvals are within 30 days, you know, depending on what your lender says and what's going on, but traditionally it's going to be 30 days for a loan approval. Some sellers might want maybe a shorter loan approval period because they want to make sure the buyers are qualified and they don't want to keep their house off the market for too long waiting on an approval. So some sellers might want a faster approval period. But typically you're going to want to stick with 30 days just to make sure that you give the lender and the buyer enough time to do everything with the loan, which is going to be the loan approval process. Okay. And then we're dealing with conventional buyers. So I'm going to click conventional here because it talks about the different types of loans. You have conventional, FHA, VA, or other. So other here could be hard money loan, could be private money, it could be a USDA, and that would be in the other category, okay? And you're gonna come here, it says for purchase of property, check one. It's gonna be a fixed rate, which is what most loans are nowadays. You know, there's still ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages. So you would click adjustable if that were the case. I do have a buyer that used adjustable rate. So, you know, it will come up sometimes, but for the most part, it's gonna be fixed rate, okay? Dun, dun, dun. You're gonna keep scrolling. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so you're gonna come here where it says part 9, closing costs, fees, and charges. So this is basically talking about, you know, each party involved, what the seller is responsible for and what the buyer is responsible for, okay? So as you know, or as you should know, there is a transaction fee from Lifestyle International Realty. That is $395. And we always charge that to the client. I always tell my agents, just charge that to the client. Don't pay that out of pocket. We're already paying everything else out of pocket. So, you know, use it as leverage and say, I pay for everything on my own. You know, this is just a fee to do business through the company. I've never really had pushback from that. So I would definitely recommend to just stand your ground on that and charge that to the client. Okay. So since we're representing the buyer here, I'm going to put it down here in part B where it says cost to be paid by buyer. And then I'll put $395 transaction fee here. Okay. And that way, when I send this contract to title, I send it to the lender, they're already going to see that I have my fee on there and they can't argue with me or say that I can't charge that, I can't put that on there, because that has happened to me and other agents that I've talked to. Sometimes you will get pushback, not from the client, but from the title company or from the lender or whatever. They might say, no, you can't charge that, or you didn't put it in the contract, so we can't add it to the closing disclosure. So in order to avoid all of that, just add it in here. That way nobody can argue with you on it because the client signed off on it. So if the client signs off on it, then you're gravy, you know, they already authorized it by signing the contract. So title evidence and insurance in part C, if you leave it blank, it's going to leave it to 15 days, you know, so I like to leave it to 15 days. So I'm just going to leave that blank and leave it at 15 and keep scrolling. Now it's going to say check one here. And this is basically talking about the actual owner's policy, which is basically like title insurance. Okay. So, you know, traditionally, the homeowner or the seller is going to be the one that pays the owner's policy and charges. You know, sometimes you might have somebody trying to negotiate as a buyer saying, we're willing to pay for the owner's policy and all that, you know, which is a strategy some people use, especially when we were in a seller's market before. But now typically the sellers are responsible for that. So I'm just going to click seller shall designate closing agent and pay for owner's policy, which means they choose the title and they pay for the owner's policy. Okay. Then you keep scrolling here. You're going to come down to part E where it says home warranty. That is something you can purchase for your buyers if you want. I have heard of a lot of agents that do that they buy their clients home warranty as kind of like a little gift that keeps on giving, is the concept of that. So I know it's had a lot of um, good feedback, and people actually sending referrals and stuff like that because they appreciated the home warranty after closing. It's basically like an insurance plan where, certain appliances or things go wrong in the house, they can have warranty on it and pay, obviously a much lower price to get those things repaired or whatever. So, but we're not going to buy that for them. So we're just going to put NA, which is going to be the third box here. But if you were buying it, you could say right here, buyer is going to pay or seller is going to pay. And then you can have that taken out of your commission if you want, and have that gifted to your buyers as a closing gift if you want. So that's up to you, Let's see here. So you're going to come down here under special assessments where it says check one. Okay. First choice is A, seller shall pay installments due prior to closing. And choice B is going to be seller shall pay in full to or at time of closing. So it's going to be choice A typically here, which is going to be the seller is responsible before closing, buyer is responsible after closing. Okay. I'm going to keep scrolling here. This is talking about disclosures. So, some of the most common disclosures that you will often be dealing with is definitely going to be lead-based paint disclosures and HOA disclosures. Sorry, I can't talk. And seller's property disclosures. All right. So disclosures are very important. Obviously, this is, disclosing certain information about the property, about the sale, about certain things. Lead-based paint obviously is required by law to be included with any property that was built before 1978. So that is a simple, one-page addendum that you can find under forms that you can add to this contract and have the buyer sign off on it. Sometimes the listing agent will have those documents attached to the actual listing in the MLS, and it'll be attached under a little paper clip at the top where you can click the paper clip and you can find attachments there. And you can just download those attachments that are already signed by the seller and then have the buyer sign off on it and attach that to the main contract. So that's what I like to do. And that's what I encourage agents to do when I have listings is I'll attach those disclosures and then ask them, hey, please download those attachments and have your buyer sign off on that and include it with your offer when you send the offer. So it kind of consolidates everything so that it makes it easier on them and on you that all of the paperwork is in one and you submitted it all together, basically. So it just saves time and energy. So if there are attachments available, always look at the attachments when you're submitting offers to see what they have attached to the actual MLS. Let me come back here and see if they have any attachments. So if you come up here, you'll see like a little paper clip that's up here. They don't have any attachments, so it's not here. But if they do have attachments, you should be able to look up here and see a little paper clip up top. But obviously they don't have one, so. Excuse me. So yeah, so that's basically the lead-based paint disclosure. That's a pretty common one. Also HOA community disclosures. Those always have to be included. If you have a community with an HOA, you're always going to want to include the HOA disclosure. And the main part you want to make sure that's in there is the HOA contact information and either the monthly or annual amount that, that they are responsible for as a homeowner. So those are the main things you want to make sure you disclose is the monthly or annual or quarterly amount, whatever it is. And also the main contact information, like the website, phone number, and email, whatever is available, either on the MLS or when you look up the community information. So sometimes the listing agent will have that attached already with the information on it. So it saves you time and energy. If not, sometimes you might have to go and look for that information yourself. But typically either the agent or the listing is going to have that information already available for you. Okay. So make sure you don't forget you have to include that if there's an HOA as well. and you can just always attach that to the main purchase contract. Also, seller's disclosure, like I mentioned before, by law, if the seller has actually lived in the property that they're selling, they have to fill out a seller's property disclosure. This is basically disclosing all known material facts of the property. So it's going to talk about things that are not readily visible to somebody just looking at the house, like the roof, plumbing, any code violations, liens on the property, flood zones, sinkholes, stuff like that. All right. Polybutylene pipes, like this is all on the seller's disclosure. So it's very important to look at attachments when you're looking at listings to put offers on, because it might just all be there and you'll just have to download it and have your clients sign off on it. These are all required, guys. So, make sure you ask the other agent for those things if you can't find it. So in this situation, I would have to ask the listing agent, hey, do you have a seller's property disclosure? I don't see one here on the MLS, and I'm writing up the offer now. So I was just wondering if you had it available so we could go ahead and sign off on that too. You don't have to be rude about it. Don't make them feel stupid for not having it there, because you want to stay on their good side. Remember, you get more with honey than vinegar, as they say. So just be polite about it, but at the same time, be like, hey, do you have this available? So we can just go ahead and take care of that now. So if you click back up here, we can see under community information, it just says park, playground, pool, and it says no. So obviously there's no HOA in this one either. So the only disclosure that we would need for this one specifically is the seller's property disclosure, and also the lead-based paint disclosure, because it was built in 1915. So because this property is old, we would have to include that lead-based paint disclosure in there as well. But as you can see, the agent didn't include any of that here. So I would just give him a ring and say, hey, do you have the lead-based paint? Do you have the seller's disclosure available? If not, I'm just going to throw that in there, or the lead-based paint disclosure, and wait on you guys to fill out the seller's disclosure. So just get with the list agent and ask them if they have those things available when you're doing the offer. Okay, so we'll keep going. So part 12 is going to talk about inspection period. So obviously, as you know, as a buyer's agent, part of your due diligence is going to be to schedule any and all pertinent inspections that may need to be performed on the property. So typically the property inspection period is going to be your period to get all of that done, do your homework on the property. And it's kind of your get out of jail free card as well, which is why it says right to cancel here. Because not only is it your inspection to do your homework, but it's also your period that you have, or that, the buyer has, to cancel the contract without penalty, which means for any reason at all, they can come and say, hey, we changed our mind, or this came up in inspection, we're not happy about it, or, we found another property, we're not really feeling this one anymore. And it's still in the inspection period. Maybe you're only 3 days in, 4 days in, and you put an inspection period of 9-10 days, then you still have time to back out the contract, get their escrow deposit back, and move along. Okay, so always make sure you put a decent property inspection period in there, especially with an older property. You want to make sure you put a decent inspection there. That way you can do, any and all inspections that you may need. So here I'm just going to put 10 days for inspection. So there's all different types of inspections. You have, your traditional inspection, you have wind mitigation, you have a 4-point inspection, you have a WDO inspection, which is wood destroying organisms, AKA termites. Okay. So you have a lot of different inspections depending on the property and the loan. VA loans require WDO inspection. So you're going to have to keep that in mind on top of a traditional inspection as well. So you're going to probably need a couple different inspections for a VA loan. Also with insurance companies, a lot of them want a 4-point inspection. A 4-point inspection is going to be the main systems of the house. It's going to be the roof. It's going to be the electric, the HVAC, the plumbing. The main systems of the house is what they want to know about. They don't care about the backyard. They don't care about the kitchen being renovated. They want to know plumbing, electric, roof, HVAC. you know, which is why it's called a 4-point. Basically, they want to know about the main systems and how they're operating. When's the last time they've been serviced? Are there any work orders? Did they have warranty? Have they had any issues previously? So these are all things you're going to want to talk to an inspector about and see if they can add those other inspections on top of the regular inspection if the insurance company or lender requires it. So just make sure you talk to your lenders. The lender most of the time will be able to tell you, hey, yeah, we're going to need a 4-point on this one. Hey, we're going to need a WINMIT. Hey, we're going to need a WDO inspection. Okay. And a lot of times your clients can save money by doing these inspections as well, because it could save them money on insurance as well. So it's always a good idea to make sure you get the proper inspections done, in my opinion. Unless you just have a fixed investor who just doesn't give a crap about because he's going to tear it all down and renovate, you know, but for the most part, you want to get all proper inspections done. So we're going to move to the next one, next page. Nothing really to fill out here. We're on page 6. We're on page 7 now. This talks about dispute resolution and if an attorney has to get involved. Remember, do not ever give any legal advice. Do not talk about interest rates. Leave that to a lender, you know, so don't try to wear too many hats or give out too much information. You could get in trouble for that. So always refer them to an attorney or a lender when they have those types of questions. Okay. So here it's talking about liens, which title company will find liens if anything comes up. Da, da, da. So closing location, da, 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 that will be with the title company typically. Want to keep scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Da, 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 da. All right, guys, so this is going to be page 11. This is the second to last page. So with this one, we obviously would include the disclosures we talked about earlier, which is I think we said lead-based paint. Yep, lead-based paint disclosure, and the seller's property disclosure, basically disclosing the conditions of the home right now. So that's not here. So we're just going to check lead-based paint, that we have included that in there. Okay, and then part 20 is going to be additional terms. So this is where you can add any type of additional terms that are not in the actual contract already. So the situation I spoke of earlier, if the buyers needed 3% in closing costs because they didn't have the full amount to pay for down payment and closing costs, then that's where you would put it here. So if you were to add that here, you could just say, seller agrees to contribute 3% towards buyers' closing costs and prepaids at the closing of the sale. So, you know, just keep it short and sweet, but make sure the main points are there, which is the amount, who's paying for it, who's it going to, and when it will be paid. Okay, so seller agrees to contribute 3% towards the buyer's closing costs and prepaid when at the closing of the sale. Okay, so it includes both parties, the amount that's going to be paid, and when it will be paid. Those are the main things. Okay. So if you do need to add that in the end because you're trying to negotiate that, just add it in here into the additional terms. Okay. So I just wanted to write that out as an example because I have a lot of agents ask me how to add those terms because they don't know the wording or what to say. So if you have any questions about that, just throw it in the chat or unmute. Hello, Linda. Linda said I can't hear. Is Linda still here? Can everybody else hear me? Okay. Thank you for that. Let me see if Linda's still here. Oh no, she's not here anymore. She must have left. Okay, anyways. Okay, so this is basically the last page, page 12. It's very important that you make sure you fill out these blanks down here, which is going to be the listing sales associate information and their brokerage, and then your information and your brokerage. So I'm going to put my name here because I'm representing the buyer, and then my brokerage, Lifestyle International Realty. And then whoever the list agent is, you're going to come back here to the MLS, scroll all the way to the bottom where it says realtor information. And this is the realtor here. His name is Brandon Windsor. So we're going to copy that and we're going to put Brandon's name here where it says list sales associate. And we also need his brokerage. So I'm going to come back here where it says list office in the home zone realty. I'm going to copy that and put that here. And there we go. So he's the listing agent, I'm the buyer's agent, and we have our brokerages. So this is the last page, okay? And then obviously, you know, once you are ready and this is all complete, you just want to double check. I always double check my contracts before I go ahead and send them for signing. So you always want to make sure the seller and the buyer names are correct up here. You have the address, county, tax ID, legal description, appliances included. The main part you want to make sure you don't mess up is the financing, of course, and the numbers. That's a big deal. So always double check your numbers as well. Our purchase price is $398. They're putting down $5 grand. $386 is going to be financed, and then the rest of the down payment is $6,940. Okay. Time for acceptance, we have 2 days from now. Our closing date is January 11th, which gives us a month from Sunday. And just scroll very slowly through your contract to make sure everything looks good. And make sure you have your $395 on there. So that way you don't pay for that out of your own commission at closing, okay? So it's looking good. So once you have your contract filled out and ready to go, you would click up here in this little pen where it says sign, and this is going to take you to Authentisign here. It's going to ask you if you want to create a signing session, and you would click yes. So you got to make sure you also have your clients' emails as well, their main emails when you do all of this. So make sure that you ask for their emails before submitting any offers. So you can change the name of the contract here. And then number 2 is going to be your participants. Okay. So my clients are going to be Patrick and Melissa, and they are remote signing. So I would just add them. Okay. And then it's going to come up with a little exclamation point, and you can click that and click OK. This little pop-up window is going to come up, and this is where you can add their email so that it will send to them for electronic signatures. So you just put pgain00245. I don't know. I'm just coming up with something. 000245 @gmail.com. Okay. So yeah, and make sure that you have their names correct on here. Okay, so Patrick Gaines, his email is pgain000245. And then I'm going to click save participant in the right corner, and you see it saved his name and his email and put him as the buyer. And then to add the other buyer, I would just click add participant again, and then add new participant here. And then I can add his wife, Melissa Gaines, because they both have to sign. If they both are on the loan and they both are going to be on title, then they both have to sign the contract. Okay. So let's just say hers is mgains33345 @gmail. Okay. So we have to add Melissa, and we click here, add. And there we go. Now I have Patrick and Melissa. And then it's going to ask you to assign them here. You do want to do this. That way it puts their names in the correct places when you go to Authentisign. So I put Patrick as my first buyer, and then his wife, Melissa, as my second buyer. And then I'm going to click save here. So what that's going to do is it's going to place their initials and signatures where it needs to go on the contract. So it's going to save you a lot of time. So do that, when it pops up. So step 3 is going to be documents. We already have the as-is contract here that we just filled out. And then if you wanted to go ahead and add those disclosures in there so it can all be signed at the same time, then you're going to go to add documents and you can just add those documents in there as well. Okay. And then step 4 is going to be design. Takes a little bit to load, but if you see here, it's the same contract, but it added already the initials for each buyer down here. This is for Patrick and this is for Melissa. And if you scroll down, it should be on the bottom of every single page here. So you want to double check to make sure it's in the right spots. But if you put them as buyer 1 and 2, it should be at the bottom of every single page here. So they will have to initial each box on each page. And then on page 12, they'll have to sign and date as well. So you see here, it has Patrick and then an auto date, Melissa and an auto date here. All right. So that's basically it. It already pretty much organized everything for me. And then all I would have to do is just click next and send invitations. And then that means these clients just got this contract in their email and they can review it and initial and sign off on everything. And once they do, it's going to send them a copy and it's going to send you a copy through email. And then you have an offer ready to go. You'll just need to attach your proof of funds along with that, which you can get from your mortgage lender. So you will want to make sure you have that as well when you're getting ready to submit. That way you can include this contract with the proof of funds in an email, type out a nice little introduction of who you are, who your clients are, and attach those proof of funds and this contract. And then you're good to go, submit that offer. And then always, of course, call or text a listing agent, say, hello, I have just submitted an offer on so-and-so property. Please confirm that you received it through email. Thank you so much. We look forward to hearing from you. And there you go. You submitted an offer. So that's basically it, guys. That's how you fill out and send an offer with the as-is residential contract. So I'm pretty much going to wrap it up here. If you guys have any questions, you can unmute or throw it in the chat now. I'll take, any type of questions or concerns for a couple minutes if you guys have any. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Cool. You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. I hope this helped a little bit. I was driving. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's a Friday. I'm sure we all got stuff to do. I got to go drive and get my little one in a little bit. So I know that life. So yeah, I hope everybody has an amazing weekend. If you need any help with contracts, with clients, with negotiations, don't be afraid to reach out to your branch managers. That's what they're there for. Each branch should have their own hotline as well that you can also call to get a hold of somebody. So don't be afraid to reach out to your leaders and ask them for any type of assistance that you need. That's what we're here for. We also have our amazing Lifestyle One app with all of our group chats, one per branch, also the main chat. So you can also throw any types of concerns or questions in there as well. And attend your meetings, attend your mastermind meetings at your office and make sure that you're asking the questions you need to ask, and initiate if you need help. We can't help you guys if we don't know that you need help, so don't be afraid to reach out and get the help that you need. Like I said earlier, learning is continuous. So you always have to take the initiative to learn what you need to learn and to get the help that you need, guys. Use your resources. All right. Well, have a great weekend, everyone. I'm going to end it here. Take care.